Today's case, probation case, it's about a report I wrote back in the 1990s, and I think it was quite worrying, a case that really worried me, and quite an unusual one. So basically I went to interview this man. He was aged 20, in prison. He was remanded in custody. And he had originally pleaded not guilty to his offence when it was plainly apparent that he was obviously guilty. So, and what was worrying was that he told me that he had absolute no recollection of having committed the offence. So basically that was his defence, no recollection, which is pretty unusual, isn't it? Quite exceptional. And his offending worried me, and his behaviour worried me, really. So, and he didn't really care less. He said, well, you know, if they sentence me to custody, I don't care. And I said, well, you know, your attitude will affect the length of your sentence. And he said, well, I don't care. And I said, look, once you're in prison, you know, how you behave yourself, you're going to have to behave in a positive way, and that affects how soon you might be released. And he said, well, I don't care. So quite a worrying individual. And the more you hear, I think the more you're going to be worried, like me. So basically, his offence involved him breaking into a house, nice house, burglary. Now, we know that burglary dwelling is serious, and people who commit such offences are quite serious and can go on to even more serious offending. So that's worry number one. He broke into the house, and the owner returned at about midnight and noticed it had been broken into. And our man threatened this chap with a knife, and he basically robbed him. So not only was he charged with burglary, domestic burglary, but also false imprisonment. He held this guy prisoner for a while, and robbery. And he got a kitchen knife and he pressed it to the guy's face here, and threatened to take his eye out unless he told him his card PIN numbers, which is an absolutely awful thing to do, wasn't it? And he demanded money, valuables. He put them all in a sports bag. He stole altogether about £12,000 worth of valuables from the house, and made off in the victim's car. And before he left, he also stole the mobile phones, and he also cut all the telephone wires. Now, very troubling background, and I think what worried me was he's done something similar before, and what really worried me was no empathy towards the victim, no remorse for his actions, and just complete denial, you know. And his allegation that he couldn't remember anything wasn't really substantiated by a medical report or anything like that. So bizarre, isn't it? Now, about his background, very troubled background. His parents were drug addicts, and he said his stepfather was very abusive towards him as he was growing up. He began running away from home at a young age, and certainly about, I think he started offending at 11. So I think he started running away from home really young. And about 10 or 11, he started offending. On one occasion, he broke into, I think it may have been a show house or something like that, but he broke into a dwelling that was empty, and he started ripping the wallpaper off the walls, and he wrote all sorts of abusive things all over the wall, graffiti and obscenities on the wall, which is quite disturbed. So 10 or 11, he's running away from home, but also not attending school. Took a while for social services to catch up with him, but eventually they placed him with his grandmother, and he settled down for a while with grandmother, and he actually went to college for a bit and did a MVQ in catering. But things started to spiral out of control. He began to use drugs, heroin, I understand, and for a while he went to drug rehab, but that failed. He was reported to be difficult and aggressive. He wouldn't attend the group therapy groups, classes and things like that, sessions. He used to be rude and abusive to the staff there, things like that. And then he committed a very serious offence against his grandmother, which really worried me, in that he got a screwdriver and put it here, right next to her, and threatened to take her eye out unless she gave him lots of money to pay off his drug debts. And that really concerned me. A young man like that committing an offence against his grandmother, and you got the impression that he didn't really care. He committed all sorts of other spate of offences. He broke into motor cars, and I looked at the court reports and they kind of said, well, he had, he committed a whole mass of offences, such as breaking into cars and breaking into houses. He got sent to young offender institution, and he came out and started offending again. And I think the offence against his grandmother was when he was on licence as well, which was really worrying. So latterly he had been paid, he got another probation order for another offence, and he was put on a behaviour programme. But he refused to attend, stating that he would find the programme difficult to attend, that he had temper problems. And the probation service, he said that he had been psychologically assessed when he would lose his temper and forget what he was doing. Now that is possible, and his probation officer tried to contact his GP, but got no response to our inquiries about this, about to substantiate this temper problem stroke apparent memory problems. But I think he was using this excuse, really, that he couldn't remember things for that when he could. I thought, I just thought that this guy, I was worried. And so a custodial sentence for this offence was inevitable. But I asked the judge to do a full, either psychiatric, but I think psychological assessment on this guy, because I was worried about his behaviours. I think he had elements of very disturbing behaviour. He had no victim empathy. He had started offending really young at the age of 11, and the rule of thumb in probation is we know anecdotally that the younger people start offending, the higher the risk they are of offending at whatever age you come across them. Because people who start young, they're really difficult to stop offending. And I think I felt there were indicators that he may be a psychopath, really. And that really worried me, and we needed to be informed about that in order to manage this guy in the future. But probably, most worrying behaviour, most unusual case, really, that I've come across, Anyway, what do you think? Do write in the comments, but some offenders have something nice about them. They might have done bad, but there are elements of positivity. But I found it really hard to find much positive about this guy, to be honest. oh, you know, but I was in the job, you know, I used to try and encourage the positive in people and to push them in a positive direction, as you'll see from my other videos. But this chat really, really left me feeling cold and worried. Anyway, do put your comments and do look around my other YouTubes, and please do subscribe. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.